Hello, and it's finally time for my top 10 records of the year. I previously made a video for top 10 disappointing records and honorable mentions. So this is sort of a long time in the works. I appreciate everyone who has watched the previous videos and commented. And I've always been, I said in a previous video, I've always been such a fan of lists because I always get turned on to so much good music, especially when I was a kid, sort of pre-internet age. You would get magazines around this time of year and look and see all these top 10 lists and get turned on to so much great music. So very nostalgic for top 10 lists. I know some people don't care about them at all, and that's cool too. But I've always really been a fan of the top 10 lists. Before I reveal my top 10, I want to say something about two releases that are strangely absent from this top 10 list in the honorable mentions. One of those is My Bloody Valentine MBV. I don't own that. If I did own it, it would be in my top 10, probably close to number 2 or 3. I didn't buy it because my record store, the only copy they had a big crease right down the middle. The package was really in bad shape, and it costs so much. It's like 40. It's gonna be like $45 with tax. I know I could order it, but to me, there's just no reason to pay that much for that record. The packaging is very, very sparse. The vinyl itself is on 200 gram, I think, or 180. It's nice, but that's just way too much to pay. So I've not bought that yet. Hopefully, it'll get a U.S. release, and I will buy it. But again, if I did own it, it would probably be at around number 2 or 3. Another one that's strangely absent is David Bowie's The Next Day. I'm sure that's going to be on a lot of people's top 10 lists in the VC. I thought it was a damn good record. I thought it was Bowie's best record in the last probably 20 years. Especially the issue I had with it was I thought the first 6 or 7 tracks were really, really stellar. I thought toward the end of it started losing some of its steam, and the songs were a little lackluster toward the end of it. So ultimately, it didn't make my list. But having said that, in the category of like Bowie, Bob Dylan, Neil Young, Rolling Stones, all those legacy artists, it was one of the best ones I've heard from any of those guys in a long time. So again, that's why it's not on the list for me. So all those disclaimers out of the way, let's get to it. Number 10 on my list, Ice Age, You're Nothing. This is a Denmark punk band, Ice Age. This is their second LP. I really love this record. It's the best punk record of 2013 in my opinion. It's got all the punk edge, the punk attitude, the nasty, grimy guitar sounds. They play very, very loose. Sometimes the guitars are not exactly completely in time with the drums. I love the singer's voice. He doesn't even try to hide that European accent. It's very gruff, very pissed off. Um, they play loose like that, but they still try to do different time signatures, which they pull off. I thought that they really expanded their sound on this one. On their first LP, it was pretty much straightforward punk. On this one, there's a song called Morals where they actually throw a little piano into the mix. Um, Try to slow it down. I thought this was an example of a band that was polishing their sound, trying new things, and pulling it off successful. I have a very soft spot for punk, and this is the best punk record of 2013. So, really big fan of this European punk, post-punk revival with bands like Ice Age, Savages, Holograms, to name a few. And I think Ice Age is the best band of those three. This came out on Matador. Matador had a hell of a year this year. I thought they really put out some quality releases. This is just a standard black. It is on 45 RPM, which is nice. So there you go, number 10, Ice Age, You're Nothing. Great artwork. Great title for a punk release too. So there you go, number 10. Number 9, Dark Side, Psychic. This is also a Matador. This is the two-man band featuring Nicholas Jar, electronic band that really, what stood out to me about this release is not only the electronics and the atmosphere, but the use of guitar. They really use the electric guitar in a way that is not, it's very prominent in the songs that you don't really hear in electronic music at all. Again, a very prominent use of electronic guitar in music that it's not disco. It doesn't have that, upfront beat. It does have beats, but it's just unique. I've never heard really an album like this. I really like the vocal manipulations in this album. They really stood out to me that Nicholas Jarre uses. Again, this is on Matador. Love this sleeve, how it comes out at the top. Just a solid debut from these guys. It's just unique sounding. Really, really dug it from beginning and end. So Dark Side Psychic, number 9 on my list. Number 8, Disclosure, Settle. This is I showed this earlier in the week. I just picked this up. This is sort of a house dance duo from the UK. I thought this was really the best sounding house album I've heard in a very, very, very long time. These guys are making house dance music that is not corny, that is original, that great use of sampling, great use of building a beat. I thought it was just really fresh, and it's hard to pull that type of music off, in my opinion, in an effective manner. I thought that they did it from beginning to end. I thought it was extremely well executed and very, very memorable. Every song is very, very memorable. Great monster hooks. Again, some of the simplest things, in my opinion, are the hardest to do, and these guys did it extremely effectively. It was fun from beginning to end. So, number 8, Disclosure, Settle. Amazing packaging, too. Number 7 on my list, another electronic music album that I've raved about a lot on this channel, Timcker Virgins. This is on the Cranky label. Been a big fan of Tim Hecker's work since he first came on the scene. Really, really loved his LP from 2010, Rave Death 1972. Thought this was another example, just like the Ice Age record, of an artist taking his sound and perfecting it. Doesn't really go into a lot of new territory. He just perfects what he's been doing, adds a lot of layers. There's so much going on in this album. This is truly an album for headphones. You could sit there and pick up something new he's doing every single time. It's just, the execution is beautiful. The sound, the production, just extremely lush. I love everything about this album. There's no criticisms at all. It's very dark. I love it when he goes really noisy on top of like the beautiful strings. He's a lot of dynamic shifts that really complement each other. Can't say enough good stuff about this one. It's a perfect album in my opinion. Number 7 on my list. Number 6. This is an album that the VC turned me onto that I probably would not have heard of, and I'm so thankful for it because it's come in at number 6 of my favorite LPs of 2013. Folkazoid, number 2 on the Sacred Bones label. To me, this is neo-crap rock, to use a VC term. Just Noi-inspired drums, just on so many of the tracks, psychedelic instrumentation over it. I'm a huge krautrock fan. I know some people may not call this krautrock. To me, it sounds a lot like it. It's just beautifully executed from beginning to end. Not a single complaint about it. I'm so glad I discovered these guys. Number 6 on my top 10 list, Folkazoid. I hope I'm saying that right. Number 5. I'm sure this will be on a lot of lists. I've seen this shown a lot. It's Knife, Shakingly Habitual. Definitely the winner of Packaging of the Year. This has been shown a lot, so I won't take it out, but it's triple LP. Packaging is amazing. Huge fan of the Knife. I think this is the Knife's best album to date by far. I even really like the really long drones in this song. I thought everything about it was great. just from the first song, A Tooth for an Eye, I mean, just something unique. No one sounds anything close to these guys. It's just such a unique sound and a great sound, and love everything about it. Completely impressed. Number 4, probably also going to be on a lot of top 10 lists. On Drag City, Bill Callahan, Dream River. I had shown this album earlier in the year in this channel. I just thought it was one of Bill's best to date. I don't know if I like it as much as Sometimes I Wish We Were an Eagle. Definitely like it better than Apocalypse. It's just an example of good, honest Americana type music. Wonderful musicianship. Amazing lyrics. I thought it was some of Bill's best lyrics. It's just an album that's just really well recorded, well written, well produced, well played. Singer-songwriter album of the year, in my opinion, by far, and I just can't wait to see what Bill does next. So completely impressed, did not let me down. Back on track after Apocalypse, which I did not like as much as some of his other stuff. So, number 4. Getting down to the end here. I think these next 3 records may not be on a lot of top 10 lists, but they should be. Number 3, post-rock outfit, Russian Circles, Memorial. This is on the Sargent House label. Post-rock LP of the year, in my opinion. I thought this, post-rock is one of those genres to me that you get a lot of crap because people try to go with that loud, quiet, loud dynamic so much. People try to do what Mogwai or Explosions in the Sky were doing 15 years ago, and it's a trap. It's a genre that can be very much a trap, and because people are not original, and these guys took that genre, which is a great genre, and did something completely fresh and new, and just the songwriting is so memorable. The guitar playing is doing things that they're taking instruments that have been played to death, this traditional setup, and doing stuff that's just so unique without, having to rely on crazy effects. It's just a fresh take on this genre, in my opinion. I loved every single song on it. I love the drumming, it just stands out. I love the guitar leads. Perfect album from beginning to end. Everything flows so nicely from one song to the next. It's almost like one big piece of music. I thought it was a perfect album, a 10 out of 10 for me. Number 3 on my list. Number 2, Yola Tango Fade. This is also on Matador. Again, Matador, label of the year this year. I'm a really big Yo La Tengo fan, but, and I'm going to go ahead and make a statement, I think this is the best album they've ever done. I think this is what Yo La Tengo did with this album that's so striking to me, is they took their sound and they pared it down to 3-minute songs, more or less, 3-4 minute songs, which those of you familiar with, Yo La Tengo's discography, usually on their album, their songs are a 10-minute, 15-minute long song, and that's fine. Yo La Tengo, I like them, but they've always been sort of hit or miss for me. Some of this, about every album they've done up to this point has been, I really enjoy about half of it, and the other half of it, I'm just not feeling as much. I liked every single song on this. I thought it was perfect. I thought it was a band that, who have really been experimental in the past, said, let's make a accessible album, 3-4 minute songs, but let's not sacrifice any of the amazing songwriting and musicianship. Let's just pare it down and make something accessible. I'm sure that's not what they set out to do, but that's what they ended up with. The songwriting is amazing. Every single song is great. The playing is great. Everything about it. The hooks, it's the best hooks. I thought it would have been easier for them to make a much more experimental album, probably, and people would have raved about it, but they didn't go that direction. I thought they just pulled it off. It could have really not worked, because you're not having all the noise on this one. You're not having the 15-minute guitar solos or anything like that. It's very pared down, and I thought it was, in a way, new territory for them, because they've never really done that, and I thought they just pulled it off. They knocked it out of the park. And it's very simple. That's what stood out to me, is some of these songs, there's 2 chords through the whole song. Like, that's it. But it's just fresh. It's still fresh. You would think at this point we've been playing guitar for almost, how long, hundreds of years, and recorded music, and still managed to do something unique sounding with 2 chords. Unbelievable. Again, I think this year the phrase is the simplest things are sometimes the hardest, and these guys just pulled it off perfect. My favorite Youre Nothing album, number 2 on the top 10 2013. And lastly, a surprise, I think, to many. I've not seen this on any list so far, and I didn't even know who these guys were up until this year. I'd never heard of them. I know they've been active for a while. I'm not particularly a big fan of this genre at all, so this is a complete shock to me that this would even be on my list. The band Touche More is Survived By. This is on the Death Wish label. This vinyl is beautiful. It's on blue marble. And for those of you who are not familiar, Touche More is I'm going to call them a screamo band, screamo hardcore type band. Again, not the biggest fan of that genre at all, but I heard this record and it absolutely floored me, and I've listened to it probably 30, 40 times since then in full, and it still floored me. And what's so amazing about it is it's a band that has a unique take on, or just a perfected take on just the rock, just the traditional rock setup. 2 guitars, bass, drums, vocals. They've just perfected it on this album. They're a band that knew a band that knew what kind of record they wanted to make. They set out to make it. They wrote it. They recorded it. They executed it perfectly. There's a real idea of what this album is about from beginning to end. Ideas of hopelessness, desolation, meaningless. Every single song there's a theme that's just perfectly executed. It's not a concept album. It's just a theme. And the lyrics are so poetic, so amazing. I love the guy's spoken word delivery that so full of emotion. And the guitars, it's like they're playing with these really sugary chords that are so pleasing to the ear, but the leads over them are so beautiful, and the drumming, everything about it, it's just like my old saying, sometimes you catch lightning in a bottle. These guys caught it. I mean, they beautifully executed an idea from beginning to end. Everyone brought their game. The lyrics are the most memorable of 2013 in my opinion. I don't even like this genre that much, but it's still, I've got to give it to them. They absolutely deserve Album of the Year. Nothing brought so much fire. You know what? In a sense, this album rocks harder than anything I've heard all year. It just does from beginning to end. It makes me want to play air guitar. It makes me want to rock out with air drums. I mean, it just absolutely rocks from beginning to end. You have this guy screaming the spoken word over it, and then you listen to what he's saying, and it floors me. So I am as surprised as you are. Something like this would be as my number 1, but it is. So there you have it. I thought it was an extremely good year for music. I thought it was a better year for music than it was last year. So many great releases. I can't wait to see what's on your list. Tell me what you think of this list. Do you think I'm way off base? I love talking about this kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that, and thank you so much.